So I was on TikTok and there was a lady, she was talking about she said she was a teacher and she was saying that she is worried about the future for children because this little boy came up to her, or one of her students came up to her and said, he said, like, why do I have to learn if I could just go into chat GPT and it tells me the answer? Like, what's the point? And she said, she told him that he needs to learn how to think and all this stuff. And then she said that she was scared because that little boy was right. Like, that he doesn't need to really like learn in the traditional sense. He can just go on chat GPT and he'll know the answer. So why does he have to learn? And this woman was like, she was like, I can't. She's like, our kids are growing up. They're never going to have to think. They're never going to have to learn. And, critical thinking is going out the door with humans and robots are going to replace us. All this like doom language, right? Me, on the other hand, when I heard that story of that boy, I'm like, oh my God, like this woman missed the golden opportunity on teaching this boy how to critically think. If she was, instead of fear mongering about her job, about, the state of kids or whatever, and she actually opened her mind, that little boy gave her a window, something to work with. If she just framed it like, that's a great question and I'm glad you're critically thinking, so let's think about this, and then what I would do is I'll be like, let's walk through this, like, what, you have this tool now, I'm glad you're using ChatGPT, you're ahead of most adults, you're using, a tool, an AI tool, and it's giving you answers, and you're right that the conventional way of learning needs to change. And then I would ask him, how would he teach kids? You could give him all kinds of assignments. Like, you could just flood him with like tons of assignments. I didn't know there's turtles. You could just give him like tons of assignments. You could say like, I want you to go build this app, or I want you to go figure out, have ChatGPT actually generate some, some challenges for them to use AI in a way where they have to use their critical thinking mind, and on top of using AI to like generate an answer. And the answer doesn't even have to be a right or wrong answer. It just has to be some type of answer, and then they can cross-reference it, and then they can go down and learn that they can't completely trust AI to run their lives. That AI is just a tool, just like any other tool. And through time, even with like fire, right? Like a lot of people, or when fire was discovered, the cave people, they were looking at it and they're like, oh my God, this is gonna burn, this burns us, it's too hot, like we can't control it, it's burning our villages, etc., right? Until someone learned how to until one cave guy or whatever learned how to control it, and now we have electricity, now we have computers, we have ones and zeros controlling everything pretty much. So I always like, whenever someone says like, oh, AI is gonna like destroy the world, I always think that's just so silly, and it's just a complete lack of understanding of the tool. The tool itself doesn't have, it doesn't have a mind of its own. It's not thinking like a human thinks. It's not thinking that it needs to take over the world. It thinks for us. It's just like, it's mimicking the mind. It's mimicking your brain. It's not in control at any time. Like there's no, like we're just there's a word for it. It's called anthropomorphize, or I hate when streamers can't pronounce things correctly, and I'm doing that exact thing. But it's basically like when you turn something human. Like, for instance, if you look at a cat, right? They say that anime comes from cats because the eyes are large and they're cute characters or whatever. And like that design specifically came from the shape and face of a cat. And that's what it means to anthropomorphize. I'll have to look up the word, but anyways, that's what it means. It's like humanizing something that isn't human. So like when people look at, like chimpanzees, and they're like, oh, it's just like a baby, it's like a real baby, it's like, it's still a chimp at the end of the day. So, but chimps have more, even chimps have more like more of a chance of taking over the world than AI does. You know what will take over the world is another human that uses AI, and they already are doing that. I mean, how do you know like half of the stuff that you see is real? I mean, even like if you go on Sora and you create stuff, it's pretty close to real. Like you, some stuff you can't even distinguish whether it's AI or not. And there's a lot of people getting fooled by AI. But that's not because AI is the bad character. It's because it's a tool that's being used and weaponized by other humans. So it's just like every other thing, you know, like calculators, right? Calculators in the past, um, people would think that they're cheating, and now you can't even go to school without tools like a calculator. I mean, obviously people are using AI now to do all their equations and all that, but at the same time you can't do it, and it's going to become a permanent thing in our life. Is AI is going to get more and more intricate. Obviously the cost of AI right now is an issue because they're not getting the same revenue. Like running AI is not giving them the same revenue back. Like the businesses are in the zero, and there could be a burst, but to me that's highly unlikely. What's probably going to happen is already what happened in China, is that they are going to is that they're going is there's going to be a correction. A correction meaning that they're going to stop using AI just chaotically, and they're going to learn how to use AI as a tool to like build more revenue instead of using it as a tool to like see what's available and what we can do with it. Because there's only so much resources we have. Like AI takes a lot of electricity, it takes a lot of water, and those are two raw inputs that we need, you know, in our society, that are, you know, like especially water is not replenishable. So it's like there's so many people using it chaotically that a reset's gonna happen. Things are gonna get pricier because, you know, AI is gonna get pricier to use. It's not gonna be free. Um, so if you're using it right now and you're highly implementing it into your life, I mean, if you can't make decisions without AI, then you are going to be in a really bad place very soon. Like if you're using ChatGPT for everything, like for your resumes and for all that, like all that's going to cost more in the future. So make sure you're using it effectively now while it's still semi-free, and or while it's still cheap, because in the future it's going to get monopolized. But the thing is like in China, the way they fixed it is like the government runs the AI, and people think, oh, you know, it's the government, they're going to corrupt it or whatever. But the thing is in China, they have socialism, which is like much better than capitalism. It's a different world. It's not as cannibalistic as capitalism is. Capitalism is the reason why the United States is going through what it's going through right now, and it's created rules that cannot be that, you know, it creates like this competitive place, that's just ruining the world. So it's like who's gonna be the first to like to monopolize AI for some reason, you know, like who's gonna be, you know, it's like that. Instead of saying like we should all work together to make AI better, or we should all work together to, you know, to like make the world a better place and give everybody, you know, basics in necessities, you know, like, but the thing is capitalism isn't a framework that can allow that to happen. So that's, you know, unless there's a major revolution of that happens in the world where capitalism is gone, which is I already see is gonna head our way soon, like it did in China. If you want to know what the future is gonna look like, just look at China, because China is the future right now. Like they're way ahead of us. They're in a world that we can't even imagine. I mean, just me talking to like people in China, like on Red Note, I talk to them almost every day, and like they tell me things that like I'm not even ready to hear sometimes. I'm like, oh my god, like they're so ahead. Even their thinking is ahead, and I'm just like blown away every time. And it's not propaganda if it's coming straight from the people. It's not even coming from them. You know, the way their government works is incredible. The way their government works is so much better than the way ours works. And like, yeah, if you ever want to see what the future looks like, just go watch content in China, like you'll see how amazing their lives are. I mean, there's literally a guy that has like his own, he bought his own like version of Waymo, you know, like a self-driving vehicle, and he just gets in his car, and his car takes him to work, drops him off, and then it goes off and it drives all day making money for him, and then it comes back and it picks him up from work, or whenever he needs it, it comes back, picks him up, and it's his. You know, it's like imagine buying a Waymo and it driving you forever. Like you have your own personal driver. You don't ever have to drive again. And on top of that, you're making money. It pays for itself, right? Like it's making money by driving for you, and all you're doing is paying maintenance costs. And in China, maintenance costs are really low because there's no capitalism there. So like the reason why, you know, like they can buy tires and whatever things that they need to maintain their vehicles. Because of capitalism, our vehicles are trained to, I mean, our vehicles are created, like the parts are created to expire. Like the tires could be better. We could have tires that never go flat. But, you know, that's not going to help. That doesn't help like a company that needs recurring revenue, right? We could have cars that don't need gas. We don't need gas stations. We could get rid of gas stations altogether. But no, that's not gonna happen. Why? Because those oil companies are, because the massive oil companies, right? So like we don't need all. I mean, we'll never get it unless capitalism ends. And so like anyway, that's like not gonna happen. I don't know if that'll happen in my lifetime. Maybe in your lifetime if you're young enough, but it's not. That's gonna be like a world war kind of event. That's not gonna be something that is gonna go peacefully. So I don't know, we'll see, but it's gonna happen at some point, a socialist revolution. But anyway, aside from that, like using AI in your life is, I've been using AI. Like what I do is I wake up in the morning and I remember my dreams. I have lucid dreams every night. So I will go and like type in my dream and say like, can you interpret this dream for me? And it tells me some incredible things. And I'm also, you know, have a journal where I grab all of that content and I put it in there into like, you know, a place. And I also put in like, you know, how I feel for the day or how the day went, and how things are going, and then I have it calculate, you know, like the cycles of like my aha moments or whatever, just things that I do that like I just amaze me. And it's like get doctor's results, I put those in there. I tell it like, can you tell me what I can do or ways that I can improve my life using these results from the doctor's office? And it's like, yeah, here you go. I'm like, you know, I go in there and for work, I ask it like, can you create me a template for qualitative UX research on this specific subject, and then it does that for me. It like creates all these like, you know, interview questions and stuff like that, and creates a platform and creates like a framework that I can work with. I ask it like, you know, here's all this Google Analytics data that I got from this company that has hired me to do this, and can you help me understand what this data means and how I can help this company? And then it does a bunch of things for me that, and I have like AI checking other AIs. I have like these AIs linked together, like different agents working together, that work in a chain. So like I have like an AI that is like a design AI, and then I have a developer AI, and then I have like a creative director AI. I have an AI that's pretending to be like the boss of all of them, and he like cross checks everything, and they like do KPI reports and all this stuff. It's like, you know, and then I, at the end of the day, I come in and I see what it did, and then I look at it, and it's like amazes me every time. So I just don't understand like why people can't embrace a tool like that. For me, it's like the moment I saw AI, and when my friends were telling me, like I met up with some of my other friends who are like even more involved with AI. Like they were telling me like all this stuff that they were doing, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get in, you know, I gotta start like using it, because I had a distrust for AI, because I'm like, you know, I would rather do everything myself and like it's authentic. But the thing is it is authentic the way I'm using it because no one thinks like me, and all it's doing is being a mirror of who I am. So like it's like giving me all the tools to be myself 10 times over, maybe even 100 times over. Cuz I have these ideas for games that I've always wanted to create, and I can go in there with a quick like, I go into one AI and I'm like, act as a game designer, and I want the game to do this and have these kinds of rules and stuff like that, and I want you to build it um so that it can be launched cheaply, so that it can be launched on a platform that I can afford. And then it'll send me all this stuff, and I don't have to understand the code. All I need to do is understand how it roughly works, and you have to kind of understand how to use like tools like Git and like tools like GitHub, or like different like command line tools and stuff like that. You kind of have to understand that, or have an understanding of it, in order to effectively use like vibe coding is what it's called. otherwise you'll be lost. And if you don't know how to do that, you can always ask it, teach me how to vibe code. What do I need to learn? Can you help me through working through a to-do app? Because a to-do app is is the most basic type of app you can create. And once you create that, you kind of understand how to develop almost holistically. Like you'll be able to do a lot of things with that. Should I just sleep in one of these? Let's see, do they have a bed? Wait, how do you do it again? Wait, I can't open it. Oh, that's what it is. I think I changed my keybinds. Oh, he's already asleep in there. Sorry, buddy. Let's see if there's an empty house with a bed. Nope, that one's occupied too. So funny. Luckily, they're asleep. But yeah, like I just think of like when somebody is my age who grew up with AI, like the kind of things that they're going to be doing is, and by the time like they get to my age, like they're gonna be on such a different wavelength than other humans if we make it, like if we make it through what we're going through right now. But it's just like at the end of the day, like AI is just the evolution. Like we as a society have just gotten to a point where we can have access. In my opinion, AI has always been there. It's always been there in the like as something that we could have achieved, but there was so many people that like needed to catch up in order for it to appear. And I think there's other things like that AI will unlock, right? There's other things that we are going to learn about humankind, and we're going to be able to take things that we previously thought were flaws in us, and they're going to make us even better. So for instance, let me give you this example. So like back in the day, I remember going to GameStop, and I remember like taking video of like the crowd, and one guy was like, "I don't want to be on camera," and I was like, "Sorry, man." I was like, I'm gonna film this, but I won't put you in there." And I remember it was like, I think it was one of the Black Ops releases. If you guys were on this channel that long, like you probably remember it. But I went through the crowd. I remember going there on release day, and I remember going and like taking film, and some people were like, they were offended or whatever, but a lot of people didn't care. But then it's like now everyone's filming. You see everybody filming out in public, like no problem. And it's just like a thing that like you don't even care about it anymore. The only people who care about are like old people, right? Like they're the ones that complain, call the cops, and whatever. They're filming me. They took pictures of my whatever. Like you ever see those like auditor videos on TikTok where they call the cops, and the cop comes and he's like, he's like you're giving them what they want is content, and she's like, well, they have my whatever my child or my license plate on their thing or what, on their phone, and I want that footage deleted and all that. And the cops like, well, that's their right. They can do that. They can film you if you're in public. If you're out in public, you can film wherever you want. There's no laws that protect them or protect you against, protect your privacy when you're in public. And that's just, that's their First Amendment right. And they get all mad. But the thing is like they come from a generation where that wasn't going to work for them, right? Like that, like they come from a world where like, they were ashamed of themselves so much that they would never want to be on camera. And a lot of, younger people, we come from a world where like privacy isn't anywhere. Like we walk into like anywhere out on the street, there's street cameras. You walk into a store, there's cameras in there. Anywhere you go, you're being filmed. You're on some sort of tape somewhere, or you're on some sort of, hard drive somewhere, and you can't do anything about it. You're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, everything. Like even you watching this video, right? If you hit the like button, people can see who hit the like button. It's just like we don't care about it because we're like, whatever, if like it's everywhere, so who cares? But they grew up when cameras weren't everywhere, and cameras were like a special thing. Either like you were on the news, or you were like, like whatever. And it wasn't that long ago when that happened. So those people still exist in our world, and they think that they have rights to their, to their image or whatever. And they do, but like not in the way where like they can't be filmed in public. But anyway, it's just like it's all that kind of stuff, right? Like that, like kids that are growing up now, like they're not going to be afraid of AI. Like they grew up with AI, which to me is absolutely crazy. And I wish that I was one of those kids that grew up with AI, so I could, I would have I would have lived a completely different life than the life that I've had to lead. And like I'm thankful that I have critical thinking, and I'm thankful that I have so much technical knowledge, but at the same time I'm like I could be so much further along if I grew up with AI. Like, but it's new, and it's something that I'm glad that I'm alive to use it and to practice with it and do all that kind of stuff. Like that's fine, that's great to me. But yeah, like if you're using AI, let me know how you use AI. Let me know the sort of projects and stuff that you're building. And I'm really interested. If you've never checked out Claude Code, I would check that one out first. But like that one's the one I use to vibe code, and that's the one I use mainly for everything. I'm not sponsored by them or whatever, but I'm not sponsored by them at all. I'm just saying like that one's my favorite one out of all of them. ChatGPT is good too. The other one let's see, ChatGPT. I use Midjourney a lot. Midjourney is like an app that you use to like create artwork. If you're like wanting to create some cool artwork, you can go on there and you can create cool things on there. You can create pretty much anything. The other ones, let's see, what other ones do I use on a daily basis? I sometimes use Copilot. I mean, I've tried like coding editors like Cursor. Cursor's cool. Cursor's cool if you use it with Claude or ChatGPT. They're both good. I've used DeepSeek. DeepSeek's really cool. If you like, DeepSeek is a nice one because it's free, and if you're just wanting to try stuff out and you don't want to pay anything, like I would just check out DeepSeek. But yeah, I should, like I've been trying to think of like different ways to use AI. There was I had this idea that like I was like I want to create a story like a children's storybook, but like it's created using AI. So like all of the stories, they can be created by AI, like generated every time they open the app. I think that would be really cool. And then if a person or if a kid likes a book, they can take that book and they can publish it, or they can they can write their own little books. They can use AI to write their own sort of stories, like make a story about my dog, and his name is Max, and you know he's going to play with his friend is the cat next door or whatever, you know. You can make stuff like, you know, like I was just thinking of like a story, like a kid's storybook, you know, that changes for them, and then they can look back at it over time, like in the past they can revisit the stories, or they can send the stories to their friends. I had so many ideas for this, like it was a whole thing. um there's other ideas that I have too that include AI, but I've built them. I've actually gone through and I've built some of these ideas. And one of these days, you know, I'm gonna just keep launching things, launching like a bunch of apps, and hopefully one of them actually, like, you know, hit, like it goes viral, and then I don't have to work anymore. That would be amazing. But yeah, it's just, you know, I just wanted to talk about AI because I watched that video. I just couldn't believe that that woman, like, you know, she was such a hater of AI that she like she had this golden chance to challenge this boy's mind, and she just ruined it because she's fear mongering. And then she goes on TikTok and spreads that fear instead of thinking positively about it. That little boy, like, if I was that boy's age, I don't think that I would come to that conclusion. I don't think that I would be like, why do we have to learn? Like, go up to the teacher. That's crazy that that little boy had the audacity to like to say that to his teacher, right? Like, that's crazy to me. Like, he actually went up to her and challenged her, and she failed. She failed him as a teacher, and she failed her. She failed as like in just her whole industry by saying that like AI is going to ruin everybody, when clearly she just doesn't understand herself. And I think, you know, obviously she's afraid probably for her job or whatever, but I don't share the same ideas. I think that I also know that I just think differently than people. Like, I don't like, when I look at something, I don't think like right away like, oh my god, that thing's gonna take me, that thing's gonna kill me or whatever. Or, I don't have that. I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. That's like my response for a lot of things. Even if people are like, sometimes people are rude, you know, like if you go to, you know, like if you go to like a store or something, and they're like, you know, they're side eyeing you, or they're being weird or whatever, and you're just like, you're not really doing anything. And then I would just think like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know the context of why they're looking at me like that, or why they're doing this, or they're acting this way. Especially when I see people in public and they're being rude to other people, I'm just like, I don't know. That's interesting, but I don't know. I don't know what they've experienced. I don't know why they're being the way that they are being. Um, and I honestly just don't care unless it like pertains to me. But at the same time, I think that like going into AI, you know, with an open mind. I'm actually curious if any of you guys are like, you know, have watched this far. Say Green Apple. Um, Shout out to Speed. But say Green Apple, and then tell me things that you're using AI for. Like, you know what's crazy is I really enjoy reading tarot cards. So like with tarot, I've been having AI translate tarot card pulls for me. Like, I'll ask it a question, and then I'll pull a card, and then I'll tell it what card I pulled, and then it'll tell me like the answer. And it's so crazy because it's so, I don't know like how it works, but like it's just so incredible at doing that. And the dream, you know, do the same thing. Try the same thing with the dreams. Like, go into ChatGPT and tell it your dream. Say like, you know, I don't know, whatever your dream was, but like tell it, you know, like your dream, tell it to interpret your dream for you and see what it comes up with. It's really interesting. Um, but you know, there's all kinds of stuff that we can use, and I think at some point I need to create some sort of AI community thing, like maybe like a Discord or something, where people can go in there and talk about it, like how they're using AI. I think that would be really cool. I mean, I go on Reddit for, you know, for a lot of like AI related topics, and right now there's a lot of fear mongering. Like, there's gonna be an AI burst, and everyone's gonna pull out, and Nvidia's gonna go down, and blah blah blah. That to me is just they're just trying to create, you know, like content, in my opinion, that's just like viral content, is fear mongering stuff and not reality. The reality is that it's just gonna go through a correction. It's not gonna be that big of a deal. A correction means that they're gonna limit AI, right? They're gonna limit how companies are using it on a large scale, not on like an individual scale, but on a large scale. And that means that it's gonna become, you know, more reasonable for them and not as chaotic as it is right now. So the other thing that that I really like, I think I've been thinking about, is how I use it, and I've kind of told you how I use it for design. But when it comes to AI, as far as like the way it affects, you know, my work, is honestly like I'm still doing the work. I'm still the one who's like doing quality control. So if I tell AI to do something and I don't agree with the direction, I'm gonna tell it like, hey, you got this wrong. Like, let's look at this again. But let me tell you why, and I'll give you some critique. And then it'll go back and it'll redo the work, and then it'll come back and we're gonna grow together. Like, me and the AI are growing together. Like I teach it different things, and are like, say for instance, like job positioning. So when I go to pitch for a client, and they, you know, like I tell it like, you know, tell me things that I need to cover. And then it'll say, you know, like in the past, like the way I thought the best way to pitch clients would be is to go up to them and be like, hey, here's my life story. Here's why you should, you know, hire me, is because I've been, you know, doing design and this for this many years, and I've worked on this project here and this project, and I've worked on at these companies. Like, I've worked from small agencies to like big corporate companies, and I've been doing this for X years, and I understand how I'm a master at this and a master at that, and here's my strengths and here's my weaknesses and here's how I communicate. Like, all those things don't matter. What matters is the problem that the client or project is trying to solve. So if a client comes up to you and is like, you know, and you're just like, me, like, this is what I do, this is how I do, pick me, like, that's not the right energy. The right energy is like, hey, what's your problem? You know, like, what is your problem? What is the problem you're trying to solve? And then they come back to you and say, like, they come back to you and they tell you, you know, the problem that, and they're going to tell you exactly what they need, instead of you telling them what they need, right? So like, it's a perspective shift. I've never seen this kind of place, but it was a perspective shift that I made after interacting with AI. Like, can you be like, what I would tell it is like, can you be the most like, you know, the most crazy, intimidating interviewer, and let me interview against you. So that way, when I go and I interview with these companies, I'm fully prepared. Ask me everything you can ask me about this, about a job like this. And then I'll go to like Nike. I'll grab like a job position that I think is cool. And then I'll go in there and I'll paste it in there. I'll be like, be the Nike guy and ask me questions and try to break me as like, as an interviewee. So make me like unqualified, and I will fight against it. and then I say like, give at the end, give me a rating of like how you think I did. And then it'll go through and it'll, you know, it does that for me. And I've been getting way better at pitching. I've been getting way better at doing, you know, like doing my work. I've been, you know, I work probably 10 times faster than I've ever worked. Like, I do so much. I'm, you know, it's just like, I can't believe the kind of things that I can do now. I can't believe like how far I've advanced in such a short amount of time. In less than a year, I feel like I've learned so much interacting with AI that I'm like a completely different person. And every day it keeps getting better and better. And I'm like, I wake up, there's a brand new idea that I want to try, and I go out and I try it. And this tool is like, I just can't believe it. Can I make that jump? Oh, no. I missed it. I wonder if I can make that. I don't think I can make that jump, to be honest. But anyways, yeah, let me know how you guys use AI, because I'm really interested in. I actually like in the future might start like, I don't know, it's implementing AI into my channel somehow. Like, I haven't quite thought about how I'm gonna do it. I don't think like, I think making videos like AI videos is not the way, but I can use it somehow. Like, I've tried using it to write lyrics. It's not that great at writing lyrics. I still write better lyrics than that. Um, I tried using it making beats. It's okay at making beats. I mean, it'll make, but it's still not. I feel like it's just not there yet. Like, you can't really make like, if you tell it like make me a Travis Scott type beat, it doesn't do it exactly. It like messes up. I don't know how to explain it, but I think music is it's almost there though. I say give it a year, and every song on the radio is gonna be AI generated. I don't think artists are gonna work anymore for a while. I think AI artists are going to start emerging more often, and I think in general music's gonna change completely and become, like, think about, like, imagine if there was a soundtrack for your life that's just constantly changing based off your mood, right? So like based off of how you feel, based off of the themes in your life, it'll create, music for you, specifically for you, that never stops, and you can just turn it on whenever, and you can give it ratings or whatever, and it just continuously evolves until it finds your style, your specific style and like mood of music. I think there's so many things that I think that are going to happen in the future, and I'm so excited to see them. I just hope that, like, I hope it keeps advancing, and I know it will, but there's always that, like, how much is it going to cost? Like, is it going to work out? Are people going to adopt it, or is it going to become too weaponized, and then they're going to need a hard correction where it becomes like a specific, becomes a specific thing that isn't what it is right now, because it's kind of a free world right now, and I don't know how long it's gonna last that way, so like, we'll see. But yeah, I just like, I'm just so like glad, because like, even when China released DeepSeek, that changed a lot for like because before they were going to charge like crazy numbers for AI, which they actually should, because it's going to cost a lot of money to maintain AI the way they're using it now. You can't make it free. There's no way. Like, I don't understand how they're going to do it, but I'm sure they'll find a way to correct it. But it's gonna cost a lot of money. So if you're enjoying AI right now, you better enjoy it a lot, because it's really in the experimental phase still. And the more that you implement into your life, just be aware that it could go away, at least as and become less affordable soon. But yeah, let me know how you guys have implemented AI in your life. Let me know if there's something interesting that you're doing. Let me know if you guys vibe code. Vibe coding is so interesting. You could like build an entire app in less than like an hour. That's so crazy to me. Like 9 months of work in an hour, and it's way more accurate than a lot of junior developers out here. There's a lot of junior developers that use AI, or they've been, I mean, a lot of developers, these teams use AI already, like the same way that I'm using it. And yeah, the world, I can't wait. And like, if you have an idea for an app in the future, you're just gonna be able to build it. If you need, like, I think people in the future aren't even like, I think a lot of people are gonna start building their own apps, not just because they can build it, but because, I mean, not to make companies out of it. I think they're just gonna build apps for their life. I can imagine myself building an app that I just use to run parts of my life, so I don't have to. And I think you can automate a lot of things, like I think people worry too much about the job market and all that. When the jobs are just gonna change. We won't have to do a lot of things. You know, in China, it's like um, a lot of jobs are already automated. There's a lot of the Chinese people, they have just office jobs that can't be automated, that need a human eye, or that stuff like service jobs, like customer service, that kind of stuff. Like it's already changed there. Like it's already been AI has already been implemented there in ways that we don't understand. Yeah, and we're in the US is still going through. So this is a really cool map actually. I really like this. It's really interesting. But anyway, I appreciate you for watching, and I will catch you on the next Minecraft.